This is a work of fiction. This is Of the Devil. The demo, at least, which contains the entire self-contained prologue story. This is by Nth Circle. I haven't played any games of theirs, but they did make a game called Model Employee, which got a ton of praise in last year's Spooktober Visual Novel Jam. And this seems to be their longer-term project they've been working on. The prologue is complete and available on itch.io. And the inspirations behind this game cover all of the things that tickle my fancy. The visual novel adventure game inspired by Ace Attorney, Danganronpa, Zero Escape, and the Somnium Files. And cyberpunk, neo-noir, black comedy, and courtroom drama. This takes place in the year 2086. Heavily surveilled. Very much, for some reason, just this glimpse of the cityscape reminds me of even, like, the city in Valhalla. That sort of future, overly neon, aggressively corporate, cyberpunk, near dystopian. In this future, everything's heavily surveilled. Everything's heavily controlled. Violent crimes are cleared 97% of the cases. If you go to trial, you will be found guilty. People are safer now than ever. So getting away with murder is nearly impossible. So if you find yourself wrongly accused, you better have the right lawyer. We will meet our lawyer in question, Evangeline Morgan, momentarily. The tagline of this game is always good. I love, a good lawyer's never obsolete. Rain sizzles off the neon above me. There's a slight uptick in the flickering of hollows down the way, and a slight blunting of the night's ambience. Summer shower as performed by the city streets. I liked the rain when I was younger, but it's easy to like things as a kid. When you're an adult, you've always got shit to do and places to be. It's annoying as hell when you get there and your shoes squeak. Cleanest rain we've had all month, if you care about that kind of thing. Doesn't smell any different. Doesn't feel any different. Maybe the upgrade to moderate air quality is a sign of good luck to come. If so, I'll take it. Could take a lot of luck to keep this client from spending the rest of his life in jail. 3 a.m. Real no man's land of an hour. Not late, not early, just empty. Empty and dark. Other people are up, of course, powering through the night shift or clocking in at some far-off time zone, dancing under strobe lights, synthetic enthusiasm pulling them along to their own manic beat, or even just lying in bed staring at the ceiling. Sure, there's plenty of people awake. But none of them are in the dark. Because this whole world's illuminated. Whether it's incandescent or neon or hollow, whether it's LCD, LED, or just the nearest phone screen, there's light shining on every last pixel of the map. Except under this awning, apparently. No light except the tip of my cigarette and no company but my own thoughts. So maybe I'm being unappreciative. I just might have found the last dark, quiet corner left in the entire world. And they say there's no rest for the wicked. My phone. Reply C to confirm. Looks like the paperwork came through. It's nearly 1/4 past now. 90 minutes since I took the call. Probably makes it about 2 hours since they finally got smart enough to ask for a lawyer. If they're really smart, they'll have used that time to get some rest. Because now that I'm here, things are going to get busy. Prologue. He shall appear. Well, Precinct Station 254 and all its outdated glory. Nothing but a hollow for welcoming party. Ooh. Search results for holograms enabled by specialized projectors or mediums like conductive resin. Holograms are graphic displays that appear three-dimensional to the human eye when viewed from any part of a face. Range of at least 180 degrees. Effect known as the Watterson illusion phenomenon. Originally patented in late 2059, Watterson's phenomenon was initially used almost exclusively in the adult entertainment industry. Of course. Holograms did not become widely adopted as an advertising tool until the much maligned Holiday season of 2061, after which laws restricting the presence of holograms in public spaces were passed with uncharacteristically universal support. Considering the original source, I can see where that might come from. I get it, it's late, but people are going to try and save money wherever they can. But I'm here about a homicide. My clearance rates be damned. You'd think they treated with a little more gravitas. At least this means I'm free to take my time getting checked in. I'm still in the dark about a lot here. Can't hurt to have a look around. Ooh. Inspect. Observe. Read. Inspect. I like this. Read. Datapad. I'll buy it. Wow, a lot to see here. Portable, lightweight electronic devices known as datapads have no significant internal storage capabilities and can only display what is streamed to them from local networks. Ah. Originally marketed as a replacement for ecologically wasteful newspapers, magazines, and flyers, datapads quickly became infamous for the difficulty expense involved in recycling them once their limited lifetime components expired. It wasn't until they were rebranded as ideal for privacy and security that datapads found success in the private and public sectors, where their ability to display location-locked content helped corporations minimize data leaks and give their advertisements targeted geographic relevance. Today, datapads are a mainstay of high-traffic public spaces and virtual, physical, hybrid workplaces, despite remaining unpopular with most environmentalists and bibliophiles. Indeed, I mean, I feel like we're already partway there, to be real. Well, it be article, advertisement. Article riddled with advertisements, most likely. Whoa, hello. Subway renovation suspended, definitely. Declaring the city's subterranean infrastructure network to be irreparably flooded. State engineers confirmed speculation this week by indefinitely shuttering plans to drain and repair the system. Saltwater damage to sensitive electronic cabling and erosion of key tunnel fixtures were cited in the report as a major reason as to why 91% of the subway system was evaluated as critically compromised or worse. Reactions to the announcement could be characterized as blasé. Most civilians have long since given up hope on the subways ever making a comeback, having watched state and corporate powers focus on the maintenance and expansion of the Canopy project for nearly 2 decades now. However, at least a few brave investors saw this latest report as vindication. Already considered by many to be a rising star in infrastructure solutions abroad, Subterra Inc. made headlines last year with their bold proposal for a system of personal submarine taxi pods that could traverse the flooded subway tunnels. Oh, God. Fortunately, momentum stalled when their first prototype of the city came in at a disappointing 3,359% over budget. The one council member was quoted as calling the system mind-bogglingly wasteful, impractical in the extreme at the time. In light of this latest report, Subterra has declared their intent to resubmit their proposals for consideration. Almost 20 years now, the Canopy super infrastructure, construction of which was spearheaded by Techcrete Industries and Superion Fabrication, take on the brunt of human and automotive traffic. our city, despite its widespread adoption by both public and private interests, it remains a controversial fixture to some citizens. Sorry, my eyes just jumped ahead to the end of this. It had to be an eyesore and an amplifier of light and noise pollution. So I'm failing to present any peer-reviewed case studies that could support these claims. Virtually every major city across the globe has struggled to find public engineering answers to rising sea levels, subterranean flooding that can satisfy financial practical concerns. Historically, most have attributed this increase in sea level to climate change, but there are dissenting voices. Water rises and falls all the time. Reasons we do not fully understand. Are we free to, well, just sell your houses and move? Good to see the Ben Shapiro's of the world are still going strong. It appears you have 0 free articles remaining at this month. Please verify your account information in order to continue reading the stories that matter. Ah, yes. Some things never change, even in 2096. So, what we learned from this? The infrastructure in our day and age is what's left over of the infrastructure we might recognize has long fallen into disrepair due to rising sea levels and the like. So, subways at the big cities crumbling, flooding. Tech bros are going to be tech bros and find the most absurd solutions to it. But describe the canopy. It seems to be more above ground transportation. It's likely the source of the ever-presence of light. One of the sources of ever-present lights here. I've got a lot of nerve expecting me to pay to read more after using the word aesthetical. Observe. High-traffic hallways, utilitarian furnishing, multiple screening stations, pragmatic brutalism so textbook it could teach freshman-level architecture. You can almost hear the building drone on about concrete and metal and impact-resistant glass. Civil planning equivalents of battle scars. A fight won so long ago that they're starting to look ridiculous. To be fair, it might have looked impressive back when this place was built. Now it just looks empty, but I guess peaceful places usually do. Looks like the desk really is the only one here to check me in. I wouldn't call it intake hollows charming, like inoffensive. That's probably what the designers were aiming for anyways. Medium's cracked in the corner. Figures. My phone's made of the same stuff, and I'm rolling the dice every time it falls off so much as a sofa. This thing better not be broken. I have to spend the next hour in this lobby just because someone forgot to patch some conductive resin. Screen cracked? Schedule a fix here. Oh, even your lore section has advertisements. It outwardly resembles plastic or glass. Conductive resin is actually a metallic polymer used in a wide variety of stationary, portable devices where its unique properties allow it to act as both a display and a processor, enabling ultra-thin or even transparent electronics. Upwards of 100 different patented varieties of conductive resin, each intended for different use cases, industries, and environments, but they're all fairly lightweight and fragile, except for the small handful formulated for military and security applications. Because of its widespread use in high-turnover products such as datapads and smartphones, producers of conductive resin are frequently accused of engineered obsolescence by consumer rights groups. Though these claims have never been proven before court. Engineered obsolescence, manufacturing in ways that force you to buy more. Like Apple. Can't be completely busted, right? Even at this hour, it's still scrolling notifications. Mostly public health and safety alerts, but a few missing persons too. 1 year of silver plan coverage, courtesy of Caduceus as a reward for any... You must be getting desperate if they're bumping the offer up to silver. And is that also meant to imply that we're provide info leading to a missing person, leading to finding a missing person, get a year worth of health insurance? Is that the implication there? Huh. A real place lineup. It's like I walked into a museum. No. Museums feel expensive, clean, dusty, forgotten. Probably lots of unpacked boxes. This place is closer to an attic. Hard to believe they were ever so busy that they had witnesses making IDs in the lobby. And again, it's hard to believe they were ever doing lineup in the first place. There's a part of me that wishes they still did. Are you certain? Wasn't it dark? Did you know that during traumatic events, memory formation is blah blah blah? Poking holes in that setup must have been like shooting fish in a barrel during billable hours. With the tech we have now, though, there's no room to sow doubt when a modded witness can just submit their testimony as a video file. Alright, taking in about all the scenery I can stand here. Might as well try and get checked in. Oh! It booted up fine. So far, so good. Good morning! Morning. Morgan, December 26th. Could you please provide your last name and date of... Great! Please stand still for a moment while I take a good look at you. Beat her to the punch. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble placing you. Could you please provide your full name and date of birth? Evangeline Morgan, December 26th. I'm sorry, could you spell that? Why don't you just scan my ID card? Great! Hello, Morgan Counselor. Thank you for your timely arrival and for taking on this public defender contract. I see that your clearance has been processed and approved. If you're ready to speak to your client, you can proceed to Counseling Quarter 3C. Is that what we're calling it now? You mean the interrogation room? I'm sorry to have caused any confusion. My vocabulary is regularly updated to better reflect state standards. Don't sweat it. I can't keep track of every new euphemism either. Could call it the involuntary wellness check room if they like. Doesn't change the way it makes a person feel sitting in a stifled box of one-way panels. See but empty walls and their own dully wrapped reflection on the table they're cuffed to. You'll find the counseling quarters past our homicide office, through the door to your right. Thanks. But I think it's just me for now, so you'd go on break if you like. Automated dependents do not take breaks, Morgan Counselor. Oh, wow. Not searching for this term may incur an account flag. Oh, boy. Read more about how we cooperate with authorities to combat disinformation here. Alright. Automated dependence. Abbreviated as ADS. Catch-all term encompassing robots, intelligent programs, holograms, and androids. Anything that's it's not fully human, but possesses some degree of intelligence. Ads are present both digitally and physically in every industry and nation on the planet, existing in everything from data management to physical labor. Oh, a new tax classification bracket was needed by auditors for intelligent machines that were neither salaried employees nor mere equipment. Ah. A niche industry term at first, it became so commonly used in accounting that it spread to all branches of the robotics industry. And then penetrated into everyday speech and pop culture. Some sociologists argue that the term owes its popularity not simply to its brevity and prevalence, but to its ability to draw a distinction between the commonplace and the internationally illegal artificial intelligences. I want to search for it. Tell me. What were you doing before I walked in? Uh-oh. You'll find the counseling quarters past our homicide office. Through the door to the right, thank you. Ads don't get breaks. They don't get my jokes either. Oh, cute ad. But it's usually the humorless types that are the most fun to mess with anyways. Oh, he's gone Patterson. Voices coming from down the hall. Compared to yours, probably. Oh, thank God I stopped for directions. The building is empty. The desk could have just told me to follow the echo. It sounds older, rougher, and decidedly low energy. appreciate you caring about me. The other rings with youthful indignation. Forbid I try to be serious. It's not like our job's important or anything. Definitely cops. At this precinct, at this hour, I'd be the only two living, breathing people in the whole complex. Because why'd you bother to print all that out? Can't read the fine print on a pad. Oh, well, one document or a 100 looks the same stored in the datapad. You'd have a heavy file when you question the suspect. Makes them think you're all-knowing. So how much of that shit was blank then? Ooh. No red carpet tonight, officers? Oh, sorry about that, ma'am. We don't keep any extra hands around these hours. Probably faster to let the desk handle intake anyways. And cheaper. You the lawyer? I am. Morgan Esquire. Pleased to meet you. Same here, counselor. Kasim London. And the ball of sunshine here is my partner, Farrah Reyes. A ball of sunshine? She certainly is. I'll kill you where you stand. Well, you kept waiting out there. Sorry. Tech departments have been slow talking to us tonight. Oh, don't worry. It gave me time to enjoy my cigarette. Cigarette? You smoke? What are you, 80? She can't be more than a few years younger than me. We're detectives in charge of this particular case. And it looks like tonight we're also your humble guides to the illustrious homicide department. Apologies in advance for any cobwebs. I've seen this London character in and around the courthouses before. Never struck me as more than just some old-timer. But I suppose being an old-timer is an accomplishment in and of itself in his profession. Sunshine is a new face, though. Very rigid in her posture and her attitude. 3 in the morning and her shirt still looks ironed. Freshly promoted, maybe. 2 old detectives working at these hours. Sounds serious. Unless you were just the first to arrive on the scene. Oh no, we're not nearly that timely. A couple of uniforms responded to the emergency calls. Calls, plural. Must have been quite the commotion. We were only tapped after circumstances at the scene indicated involvement with an ongoing investigation. Our ongoing investigation. She's not subtle, is she? But I may as well bite at this point. You suspect that this client of mine is involved in some separate criminal activity? I got look. Do they not? No, I guess they wouldn't put it in a public defender's briefing. Look, consider this a little professional courtesy. A fair warning, yeah? That's the Heartbreak killer in that room. And we've got the bastard dead to rights. So if you're kind, you'll help him plead it out. And if you're smart, you'll pass this shitstorm on to some other night owl and go back to bed. I'm not feeling particularly kind or smart at the moment. So perhaps in the meantime, be so polite as to fill me in about this Heartbreak killer. They cover utilities at the rock you live under. You're seriously not familiar with HK? Ooh. Ooh. Hey there, it looks like you're trying to search for a term related to an ongoing investigation. Until authorities have made their findings public, results may be heavily curated or temporarily unavailable. Read more about how we cooperate with authorities to combat disinformation here. Alright. I know plenty about HK. That name has been plastered all over the city for weeks. Their crimes wavering between breaking news and urban legend. I like a little touch about how her eyes just go dark when she's internal, thinking to herself. I mean, I'm in love with the art style, these characters in general, already, but I'd like a little touch. But right now, I need to figure out exactly how much the police do or don't know. When it comes to cops, I always get better results playing dumb than I do acting smart. Also, a really interesting factoid that she's familiar with HK, given that the game's page advertises that this is obviously episodic chapters of a murder mystery here, where we play as both Evangeline Morgan and the cold-blooded serial killer Heartbreak. I take it he's some kind of repeat offender, murderer. Was it the killer part that tipped you off? Well, you must have at least heard about his M.O. Media's gone crazy with it. Them and everyone else. One bullet straight through the heart. Body left to lie where it falls. Hence the name Heartbreak. Not exactly creative, but amidst the swirl of every other 100-word article out there catching this Trump's originality. What you won't read about it online is that all 6 of HK's victims were shot by the same gun, without even needing to reload. Horrible to say, I know, but 6 for 6 in the exact same part of the body. It's pretty good shooting, isn't it? Hitting the bullseye at the shooting range is good shooting. Doing it 6 times in a row is great. But shooting 6 people with accuracy like that? It's a whole different beast. It takes a certain kind of monster, a real freak. His pulse probably didn't even rise. I see. I should really start paying more attention to the news. Think I missed 6 murders. Well, you can only blame yourself for missing 5. Pardon? You're still not getting it? HK's 6th victim was found a few hours ago. But when we caught the son of a bitch red-handed. Ah. So you're convinced that my client is this Heartbreak killer, and tonight was just his latest crime. That's a serious accusation with very serious consequences. I take it you have serious evidence to back that up. Must be a literal counselor. Red-handed. He had her blood all over himself. Well, that's not good, is it? That certainly sounds compelling. Is that lawyer talk for open and shut? Even if that's the case, how does one crime scene make him look good for 6 murders? It's all there in the discovery files. Take out your phone and we'll turn over everything you need. I seriously doubt that. Thanks for that, detective. I'll be sure to read it over. But all the same, could I ask you some questions while I've got you here? What the hell kind of attorney wants to interrogate the detectives? This kind of attorney? You're just like that. You're just that pleasant. Oh, now, sunshine. Not like we're going to be getting back to bed anytime soon, right? Whatever. Let him stew in there all night for all I care. We're at your disposal, counselor. Ooh. Observe this, brother. Oh, sorry. Observe this, brother. Loose wires, missing panels, an aircon system that probably sweats more than the people it's supposed to cool. No room in the budget for making the office not look like shit, huh? I had it in the back of my mind that there'd have been a lot of belt-tightening at Homicide. I didn't expect their operation to be this bare bones. It's odd. By all accounts, they resolve cases at an admirable pace. Looks like their efforts backfired, and now the higher-ups think their job's just that easy. I can understand why, what with optics and eliminating so much of the footwork. So Homicide ends up as a gathering place for both the unambitious and the unamiable. Huh. What else we got up here? Ooh, more datapad. Barren, stark, and uninviting. Must be Reyes's desk. Keeping your workstation neat and tidy is admirable, but can't spot a single note of personalization. Is she so new she hasn't had time to unpack? Or is she really that uptight and boring? I can feel you judging me. Both, maybe. You shouldn't have cleaned up so much just for little old me, Detective London. Someone really needs to introduce this guy to a filing system, even just a stapler. Paper documents scattered about lazily, alongside actual photographs. Either he's really old-fashioned or really paranoid about data leaks. Old-fashioned. And he doesn't look like the paranoid type. Well, orderliness aside, some things are better in paper. I'll give him that. Noble surges on earnings. Warm success. So Noble Electronics, already historically high stock value, rose a stunning 3%. Strong earning report. Surprisingly high sales numbers on their Animate 16. This iteration, A14, A15 siblings, increased profit margin, left Noble shareholders very enthused. Worm Android. Animate 16, these models of androids then. Because the 16th line is the tipping point of the company's years-long shift towards androids with organic features. Warm androids. Timely saw demand in the health, senior, and childcare sectors. Historically seen as impractical due to increased maintenance costs. Concerns that fringe religious or traditionalist groups might find worn androids controversial. Business-focused minds feared that Noble was alienating its customers in the industrial and military sectors. Of course, because we gotta send the androids to die. To fight wars. I mean, that is the, that makes sense that if we make a ability to mass produce non-human drones, and military industrial complex would jump on that. And industrial, yes, because that's the thing that should be trying to have AI replace, is the monotonous menial shit that can be easily automated, not the creative stuff. Get AI out of art and writing. Get it into the industrial stuff and the dangerous stuff, the stuff that get humans more time to focus on the creative realms. Anyways, Noble's doubters were proven wrong. Animate 16 breaking all profitability records. That once rare warm models would completely replace their older models. Remarkable lifelike personable charm of their products. Charm can attribute to the work of their lead programmer, Dr. David Asher. I want to see something momentarily here. False. Okay. Thought I recognized that name. The programmer is the understatement of the century, said Noble brand ambassador Lucy Dees. Because of his Turing solution. I really do believe he's still interesting. That teases something to come, perhaps. Dr. Asher. His reputation was on full display. He himself was nowhere to be seen. Hey, fam. Looks like you're not logged into this device. Want to put in your account info so we can help you keep reading? He's in the news again. Okay, nothing else jumps out at me around here. Got a better idea of who I'm dealing with, at least. As for what I'm dealing with, take a look at the crime scene diagram before I start questioning the detectives. Oh, hello. If I project from my phone... Alright, let's see what the police have. On what they think is important. Starting with the victim's body, then. Cause of death. Ballistic trauma, class 4 blood loss, atrium and aorta. Single gunshot wound to the heart, in brief. Death was instantaneous. Not a scratch on her anywhere else, and no blood or skin under her nails. Blood spatter, forensics, and all that other good stuff tells them that she was shot from about the doorway. She was shot by this revolver, found right next to the body, along with my client. 6 empty casings found in each of the 6 chambers. Crime scene techs must have practically disassembled the damn thing, but the only fingerprints or DNA they could find all belonged to my client. She was found by the police with the murder weapon right in the front of the body. Don't know what to even say about that. Highly prejudicial would be an understatement. I've got nothing to work with when it comes to security. The whole apartment was unlocked all night. It's not uncommon for people their age, in a neighborhood like that. But no signs of forced entry, or only hurts my client's case. What about the rest of the room? Stand-up mirror, shattered and knocked over. It was a real mirror, too, not just a big reversed screen attached to a small, discreet camera. The force of the impact was enough to scatter shards of glass, far enough to land on the victim's body. It's also this ceramic vase that got tossed aside. Like the mirror, it's completely intact. Must be pretty damn durable. Probably means it must have been pretty damn cheap. Besides that, there's not much else flagged here, just a lounge chair that got thrown. And some kind of unidentified ceramic debris. Flag is irrelevant. That's their technical assessment? I guess even the crime scene techs weren't sure what to make of it. Ceramic debris. That's all very incriminating, but the kicker is everything that's not here. No out-of-place DNA, footprints, IoT crumbs, nothing. Internet of Things. Network data sharing that goes on between all the countless electronics that we monitor ourselves with. Phones, computers, security systems, biofeedback devices, body modifications, prosthetics, and of course ads. Probably small but vital parts of this network. IoT's ability to collect, process, and share information. Opportunity cost build up as individuals, governments, and private businesses miss out on the valuable insight that the data has to offer. Crumbs. Small packets of data containing your own unique identifying information. Throughout your day, as your own IoT devices say hi to other devices, they leave behind crumbs as a parting gift. Crumbs allow for paperless identification and payment, help the government manage and human vehicular traffic. Crumbs let you see where you've been so that you can see where you should go. Want to start leaving crumbs right away? Don't worry, crumbs are enabled by default. Of course they are. Not interested in sponsored search results? See further with a premium account. So the lack of IoT crumbs means that the victim is did not possess much technology or modifications. I think that points toward anyone else. Nothing to have crumbs left with or to leave crumbs elsewhere. Well, I've done more with less before, but not much more. Well then, detectives, you wouldn't mind filling me in on a few details. Ooh, snazzy. How about the basics? What exactly has my client been charged with? Your client, Carlos Jacob Flat, was arrested at the scene at 9:50 p.m. Using his middle name already, they really do think he's a serial killer. The charge was the first-degree murder of his girlfriend, Miss Diane Dawn. First-degree murder? That's increasingly rare, to say the least. Not often do we get handed anything but crimes of passion around here. The city's got damn near more cameras than people. Trying to get away with murder? Gotta be really, really stupid. Or you just have to think you're really smart. So you have reason to believe that this crime was planned ahead of time? We got a lot more than that. We have hard evidence that makes him the prime suspect in the killings of 5 of the women, HK's previous victims. But how does that relate to premeditation rather than mental instability? 5 of the shootings, 5 of the victims. None of them knew each other, lived in the same areas, worked in the same sectors, shared the same friends. Weeks of digital autopsies didn't find connections in any of their online spheres. Grave goblin. Oh, I like these little. I like those little quirks at the end of these articles. Ahem. Digital autopsies. Law enforcement process of locating, bypassing authentication on, investigating all the deceased individuals' online profiles. Legit. There would be privacy concerns. Also, if you have died of concerning causes, if it can in any way lead you to someone who had contact with you who led to this, then there are arguments for its necessity. Comparable processes are offered by as a paid service by some legal or funerary groups to help next of kin recover or delete sensitive personal data. I don't know if this exists at present, but I could see it being a thing that comes to prevalence. Time these services have been marked as a defense against data criminals attempting to steal the identities of the dead before their accounts are wiped by state processes. In this increasingly digital world, I could see that becoming a thing that, like, legit thing, if it's not already. Users also frequently searched for grave cobbling, how to stop stolen identity, how to delete dead profiles. Yes. No connections to any of their online spheres, and that's after they broaden the scope far enough to make the statistics people wince. Yeah, you know. So the serial killer's victims have nothing in common. Yeah, nothing at all. Other than that they all look like cousins. Physical similarities are striking. All 5 of HK's prior victims were young women with brown hair and eyes around 170 centimeters. Those features aren't uncommon. Couldn't be read. Yeah, sure. HK's got himself a type. Anyone can see that. Got a picture of the victim in the files there, don't you? Gonna try and tell me you don't see the resemblance? Oh. A young woman. Brown hair. Brown eyes. Can't tell how tall she is from a portrait, but I can take the hint. So you think, what, exactly? That these other women were just a warm-up for the eventual murder of his girlfriend? Hey, if the shoe fits. If the shoe fits, then you put the shoe on the... What Sunshine means is that it's not uncommon for killers to displace their violence from people close to them onto outlets with fewer consequences. He was probably working up the nerve for tonight by first practicing on these other similar women. Oh, he's just so nuts he can't tell the difference anymore. It's not the worst theory in the world. It doesn't fit. London said the others were practice runs, dress rehearsals for tonight's main event. But they were all killed without hesitation, and the crime scenes showed signs of overkill or attempts at remorse. There's no sadism or hatred or intimacy in a single shot to the heart. Killing your girlfriend on her lookalikes usually is, if nothing else, a lot less sterile. I can see a timeline of death of 9 p.m., but do you have a timeline for the rest of the night's events? Can't trust much of what comes out of his mouth. We've managed, thanks to less biased sources. We're pretty confident about what we've been able to piece together from their statements. They interviewed witnesses. It sounds like they had to do some actual police work. Ooh. there is a little bit of enhancement here. That's the eye. A suspect and his girlfriend were arguing loudly with another starting around 8 p.m. Neighbors were very clear about that part. They couldn't wait to complain about our couple's domestic problems. Everyone in the building knew they'd been fighting for weeks. You could probably gather from the diagram, but there was a struggle. Furniture turned over, glass shattered. But things go quiet sometimes before 9 p.m. And then there's a gunshot. Scrubbers are still scrubbing, looking for audio from the area to get a timestamp. Scrubbing, net scrubbing. Scrubbing all available data, posted on the net within a certain time frame and location range for evidence of crime. Brute force work performed by ads. Experienced human supervisors must establish strict search constraints in order to produce usable results. Interest in the practice spiked when Senator Bancroft positioned it as a key pillar of his party's law and order platform. Pollings indicated voters really held a strong opinion on the process, and the topic had since faded from political discourse. Heard from enough concerned citizens to be pretty damn sure about the time. Right, emergency services got a burst of calls on the block shortly after 9 p.m. No one seemed to recognize the sound for what it was, but the silence that followed was pretty universally concerning. Officers arrived on the street at 9:07 p.m., established a perimeter, and entered the open front door at 9:09 p.m., and then they find your client crouched over his dead girlfriend, his hand covered in her blood. Oh, I just realized that's the eye. That's what she's got the eye patch covering. At which point they move on to secure the scene and the suspect. Sorry, did you say his hand? Singular. Your client's modded prosthetic right arm. Adult mods, body modifications, cybernetic prosthetics, artificial implants, and neural enhancements. System does not account for mods which interact directly with the human brain. Increased prevalence of so-called above-the-neck modding in recent years led to certain corporations, medical organizations proposing their own replacements. Where to buy mods? Mod rentals. Are mods safe? How modded are we talking about here? Registered with the HOW 85 Habilis industrial grade, looks like. Says he's spec'd for dexterous manipulation of up to class 4 KPA. Meets a minimum grip strength of... Basically, he could crush your neck without even gritting his teeth. Huh. Considering a career change yet? No, it's not that. It's just why the gunshot if he can just crush them. Your eye must be very sensitive for you to put the patch back on each time. And here I thought you just had a 14-year-old sense of fashion. You think a cop would cover up her dominant eye because it was fashionable? Never left your chuny phase. I actually thought the same thing the first time we met. What? We're getting back on track. That arm of his has been in the shop for some time now. She's wonderfully prickly and straight-laced, but she's got the certain sad puppy energy to her at times, which I very much appreciate. Love her. Getting back on track, that arm of his has been in the shop for some time now. You can't work without it. Money got tight. The arguing. Yeah. Did he put his arm in for repairs 8 days before HK's first victim was killed? Huh. Well, no chance they'd be willing to chalk that up to coincidence. Her client was arrested on the scene after a preliminary scan found his fingerprints on the revolver, and no one else's. Revolver? What kind? The old kind. The real old kind. More specifically, a caliber M54, 6-chamber, 10mm. Caliber? Oh, retro. 2031 to 2062, when it was bought out by Thortec. Acquisitions groups specializing in security and National Defense, now a subsidiary of the Lockroom Defense Corporation. It is a, fitting corporate progression of everything gets thoroughly absorbed up into massive brand conglomerates until everything is related to everything. Everything's a big business mess. And big business gets the tax breaks. Once the iconic brand was briefly revived in 2071 Q2 with a series of video game memorabilia tie-in promotions meant to increase in-game item sales. Meant to increase in-game item sales. Buy the real loot drop to get in-game loot boxes. Before being completely dissolved in 2071 Q3 for failing to increase in-game item sales. You don't know the half of it. We're talking real gunpowder, steel chamber, mechanical firing pin. And no tags. No tags? How is that? Just how old are we talking here? Yeah, 24/7 location data, timestamp trigger pull, safety's coded to homeward biometrics. Sons of the Patriots. For the past 3 decades, tags made shooting crimes very unambiguous. So you're claiming my client used some kind of antique to commit these crimes? How else do you think he'd have gotten away with this 5 other times? If he tried to buy a gun legit, he'd probably fail the very first psych check. Even jailbroken pieces are only good for so long before update withdrawal sets in. Oh, then M54, that's model year 2054. A 30-year-old gun. Update fatigue. As in, you need to download updates before you can shoot this gun. Yeah, that sure complicates things, doesn't it? Some ways, sure. But pre-tag and firearms are rare. Gotta be less than 1,000 of them left in this whole country. Fewer still bullets. The ammunition would have been over 30 years old, too. Novelty of his weapon has kept us up in the dark so far. But now that we have our hands on it, that's gonna put him away for good. Archive department complained loud as hell about how deep they had to dig. The protocols they found, techs were able to match the rifling marks on all 6 bullets to the gun your client was found with. Rifling marks? Bullets fired from guns that old are marked by the barrel's shape. It's like the fingerprint of the gun. So if all 6 bullets had the same rifling marks, we know that they were all fired by the same gun. It's not as plug-and-play as tags are, but it's equally precise science, as I assure you. But if that's not damning enough, the spent casings from the other 5 shootings were still in the chamber, without even needing to reload. The caliber your client was found with is the gun HK used to kill 6 women. No way to lawyer around that. Untagged gun, just being anywhere near a weapon like that could warrant your arrest. Being found by the police over a dead body with an untagged gun used at 5 other crime scenes is just... Summarize, then, believe that my client fought verbally, then physically with his girlfriend. And then he retrieved this weapon and shot her. Yeah, pretty much. How did he look when the officers found him? Guilty. How was his affect? Quiet, detached, calm. Not exactly the picture of a grieving partner. That reaction may have lost him points with the cops, but beyond that, people react to loss in all kinds of unusual ways. As long as the police are suspicious of you, there's no correct way to grieve. Checking my phone here, and I have to say, you've done a pretty admirable job keeping the details of HK's crimes a secret. The less reputable sites are doing some real journalistic acrobatics trying to piece together a story. Yeah. Top 11 theories on who hurt HK. Was a real way to read. It's not just journalists, though. All kinds have been boldened. Freaks that HK's managed to bring out of the woodwork in just a few weeks. Can you blame them, though? I mean, he's a genuine serial killer. Repeat offenders in general are an endangered species, but he's gotten away with... We know what he's gotten away with. National DNA registry is robust enough that cases never go cold. Cameras on every street, a phone on every citizen. Violent crime at an all-time low and clearance rates at an all-time high. But you're gonna spout some alt-pol bullshit about invasion of privacy? No, I'm not. People are safer now than at any other time in history, detectives. So the existence of someone like Heartbreak. Good point. Audin's trying to look like he can laugh it off. But pressure from the higher-ups must be reaching its peak. Want, maybe need, to see someone charged. Soon. Yeah, well, you think there's nothing standard about HK? Department SOP still dictates we starve the media for case details. That way, when we do feed them, they're grateful for whatever scraps they get. But we can't take all the credit this time around. Homicide's tight-knit and tight-lipped, but it's not like there's much information for us to leak in the first place. Because none of the shootings were caught on the opt-in crime surveillance system. Optics. Opt-in crime surveillance system. Optics is a partnership program between the state and private enterprises, free sharing of surveillance and security to better promote and preserve public safety. State employee logins or private partner accounts. The existence of those is concerning. Smart UI allows its users to search and collate footage with a few simple keystrokes. That is quite effective. So you essentially give it search parameters and it will comb through relevant security footage and compile everything it finds that matches those conditions. Interesting. See people versus Irawan. Public safety measures in my area. Daily security level. How is that even possible? I know that there are some problem areas in the lower wards, but Optics is watching every other street in the entire city. You're saying you haven't seen this killer on camera once? You think we'd have let him kill 6 people if we did? I understand your concern, ma'am, but Optics is just what it says in the name. Private surveillance systems signing up to feed into the state's security network. Just one of the many public safety tools in our belt. It's not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect, it's meant to help us solve crimes. Or at least act as a deterrent. There's no deterring crimes of necessity or passion. It's like a safety blanket, one with very few holes left in it. Does have holes. Patching up those remaining holes takes effort. That effort usually means rebooting the system. There's all kinds of technical scheduling and digital bureaucracy involved. The end result is that there are occasional localized blackouts. They're not impossible to predict. I see. There's indeed a window if you know when a maintenance window is coming and where a maintenance window is coming. You can plan movements around that. Still, those windows are small, short, and infrequent. Taking advantage of them requires specific knowledge. You need to be involved in law enforcement, public data infrastructure, or city planning. They'd have mentioned it if my client was a cop. He wouldn't have needed a public defender either. This file says he's modded for heavy mass manipulation. Not tech interfacing, that just leaves city planning. Oh. Some kind of civil engineer? HK only struck at times and locations where optics would be down. And with the devil's own luck. Can't possibly be coincidence. Wait, then you're saying when this woman was killed? Yeah. So blackout from around 8 to 9 tonight. Right on schedule, so to speak. And it included the area surrounding the victim's apartment. What about DNA from the other crime scenes? Is my client a match? There's been no blood, no saliva, no suspect DNA at any of the crime scenes. No footage, and no forensics. Also no motives, tampering, or witnesses. It's been like hunting a damn ghost. Didn't even have a murder weapon. Until now. Finally, a lucky break for the boys in blue. Scanners, cameras, drones, forensics. No matter how you dress it up with tech, just what we do still relies on one basic assumption. Criminals make mistakes. But HK is the kind of monster who doesn't make mistakes. Only reason we even caught him tonight was because he finished what he had set out to do all along. Was my client on the list of suspects before tonight? Weren't you listening? There was no suspect list. Questioned some jilted exes, a few triune CIs. Someone even spoke to one or two unlisted at some point. Nothing came of it. I was talking about starting on some kind of psych eval or something, but I never expected much to come of that. There's just not enough there to work with. In other words, the only thing they have, the only thing they could have, to link my client to those cases is the murder weapon. I can jostle that keystone. The rest of the evidence should start to come loose as well. Thanks for the chat, detectives. I think I understand the background well enough now. Candidly, I see the same strokes you do. Picture it paints isn't pleasant. But even so, it seems a bit unrefined to be brought before a judge, don't you think? Hey, it's only our job to catch the bastard. DA's the one who gets the conviction. Besides, we're not exactly going to have to work hard to convince anyone that he's guilty. And why is that? Found a handwritten confession at his desk, for God's sake. Well, that's, poker face, unexpected. You wrote a confession. Has it been verified? Not yet. We have to muscle past everyone in fraud and disinfo to get to the front of that line. Why bother? The note's covered in his fingerprints. See it for yourself in the discovery data, but it doesn't exactly make for light reading. I'm curious if we actually get any of that. That's the log. This is the Hemmings power log. I'll have to manage somehow. I need to see this confession for myself. Should be a scan of it in the files they transferred to me. Sorry for everything. Can't say it enough. Didn't mean to hurt you or do what I did. Did not want to leave it to happen. Can't stay in control when I get mad. Not in control, I hurt people without meaning to. Wish I hadn't broken them. Didn't mean to at first. I was hurting. Wanted you to hurt too, but didn't want to hurt you. Words aren't responsible. Aren't enough, I know that now. Take responsibility and do what I've been avoiding. Please forgive me. This is difficult to read. Because the handwriting's barely legible. Wish I hadn't broken them. I was hurting, wanted you to hurt too, but didn't want to hurt you. Take responsibility and do what I've been avoiding. This feels like some resolution for the argument that they were having. I see what you mean. If you have a confession of this individual, was I called in to serve as his defense attorney? He won't sign anything, won't admit to anything. He won't open his mouth anymore. Asked for representation, and you were the one who got assigned. Lucky you. Hardly. I just happened to be awake when the call went out. But it's my responsibility, all the same. So I'd like to speak with my client now. What? He's not still handcuffed in there, is he? Look, counselor, with all due respect, we have strong evidence pointing to that man being responsible for 6 murders. 2 hours or so in cuffs isn't cruel or unusual. That's for your safety as well. It's kind of you to worry, but I doubt I'll be in any danger. He's killed 6 women. None of them were redheads. Seriously, though, I'd like to speak with him alone now. That means cameras off, of course. Mike's on or off is your call, counselor. We watch in the feed from right outside in case anything happens. And the cup, that is, stays on. Not worried about me? How chivalrous. Yeah, my armor's practically blinding. Gross. I'll start up the unlock cycle. Counselor, just one last word of advice. If you have any interest in his well-being, I suggest you help him finish making that confession. The defense part of defense attorney isn't just for show, detective. Serious. 6 people dead is one thing. He's also caused weeks of widespread terror and public unrest. Putting it another way, he's made the state look bad. That's a capital crime, even if the death penalty's not actually on the table these days. He guarantees not gonna like the treatment plan they come up with for him. Look, I've seen the virtual work release program in person, and it's... Oh. Hey there! Oh, wow. Hey there! Due to ongoing controversy following the suspected suicide of inmate Jay Galley, search results for this term are temporarily blocked. Read more about how we cooperate with authorities to combat disinformation here. That's concerning. Being challenged before the Supreme Court. Yeah, sometime in the next decade, maybe. Just remember, a plea deal might feel like a loss for you, but if it keeps him from... Well, that's probably a win for your client, right? Prison sentences are generally lighter for people who plead guilty, that much is true. It saves the courts a great deal of time and money, and they show their gratitude with reduced sentencing. But no one will ever be grateful towards the Heartbreak killer. His client's convicted for killing 6 people. He may never rest his mind another day in his life. The virtual work release program, aka no rest for your mind. Oh. Carlos Flat. Who are you? Another cop? No, Carlos, I'm not a cop. I'm your public defender, Morgan. I'm here to help you. They said the same thing. They all did. Back there. Here. Keep repeating it the whole ride over. Said that they were going to help me. They knew this was all a mistake. Then they said that I killed. Like they were on my side, they thought that I could have... It's not their job to help you, Carlos. But it is mine. I'm here now. It's like he's still in shock. Need information, but I have to be careful with questioning, or he'll just get more upset. Everything that's happened, I'm sure you're exhausted. It's probably difficult to think, let alone speak. I'd like you to try and answer a few questions. The police already questioned you, I'm sure. They were treating you as a suspect, not as a client. Yeah, okay. What do you wanna ask? People like to define themselves based on their occupation. Asking him about his work might help him feel normal for a moment or two. To know about a bit more about you first, Carlos. What line of work are you in? I'm with city engineering. Or I was. I should be. As I thought. Detectives probably think he mapped the optics blackouts using data he stole from work. My arm, I got the surgery for the job. And, I'm gonna need more than that. His arm's not equipped at the moment, but based on his shoulder, it must be a pretty utilitarian model. Yeah, he doesn't strike me as the type who's enamored with the aesthetics of modding. Young and the restless and the rich swapping in neon and chrome limbs cause they like the way it looks. Or the way other people start looking at them. No, he's all business, the type to get modded to further their career or help them get work at all. In which case, brother wanted to mod. Really? I don't even have a brother. He had everything planned out, every promotion he'd earned, every upgrade they'd afford him, and his 18th birthday present. Test results telling him he's not a viable candidate. That sucks. I think he was relieved, actually. Like he was glad that such a big decision wasn't his to make anymore. You know? Yeah, I think I do. Crafty, I like you. I was so sure I would just start with a hand and test the water. Thought about lobbing my whole damn arm off, but Cruder was enthusiastic. He said, calls it CD. It's financial aid. Resources. Of course, that got shit canned. Now me and every other mod are up shit creek. Couldn't even let me keep the tax credit. So the Citizens with Disabilities Act was amended, not repealed. I doubt he'd appreciate the distinction at the moment. Work the tighter spaces, the high-pressure environments, lots of canopy upkeep. Typical stuff for modders, you know? Work with other prosthetic users? Yeah, my whole crew's got steel in one place or another. Do the jobs that are too important for ads and too dangerous for normal people, I guess. Why aren't you wearing your prosthetic right now, Carlos? Yeah, that. Rejection issues starting last month. A lot of restless nights. Rejection issues? The therapy not take. Judging the human mind and body for the unique challenges and stresses that come with cybernetic body modifications. Mental technique instruction. The implication of how integrated modifications are into your bodily function, it's natural that there would be rejection. The combat, it's not like that. I wasn't bleeding pus out of my sockets, if that's what you're imagining. These rejection issues have anything to do with your scars. The way you're thinking, right-handed. Gone this long, having to use my left for everything. They're shaving scars. Problem started small, trembling, but then spasms. Just oversensitivity, they said. The problem got bigger. Couldn't let it get that far. Be able to trust your own hands when you're on the job site. Drop a cutter at the wrong moment and people could get hurt. Sat down, made an appointment, turned in my arm to have it looked at. Watched my case get placed at the back of the damn line. Why'd you turn it in? Some mass turnaround chop shop with a waiting list like you wouldn't. Doesn't sound like you're a happy customer. Hell no. I've had a dozen other clinics with shorter wait times. As long as I'm renting and not owning, the manufacturer decides where your arm gets maintenance. That's why I'm sitting here with this expensive-ass stump for a shoulder. Never been able to work in weeks. Boss was generous enough to say my position might still be there when I've got two hands again. You couldn't buy or rent a replacement yourself, just in the meantime. I'm an employee of the city. And they've got exclusivity contracts with little old Hindi, all locked up white knuckle tight. Hindi. That's a cute name for one of the biggest corporations on the planet. How Industries. How Industries. Hindi, huh? World leader in research, development, manufacturing, and fitting cybernetic prosthetics. And we're hiring. We're seeking motivated and passionate archivists, programmers, salespeople, and college graduate degrees in digital archaeology, cybernetic anatomy, and more. Not interested in that now. This is the true sponsored search result here. That Detective Reyes did say he was registered with one of their habitus models. I took one step on site with an uninsured limb. Get the fines, I'd lose the down payment and my arm. And I'd never work in this city again. You mentioned discomfort. I'm in pain now. Comes and goes. Phantoms come back pretty fast when I don't have anything. Phantom pain. Yep. Psychosomatic problem. Modern science understands that phantom pain is an unintended consequence of the human nervous system's remarkable plasticity. Stimuli stops. Becoming a part of the body that's no longer there. The areas of the nervous system that were previously devoted to processing those sensations reconfigure themselves. Occasionally, the brain mistakes this new sensory processing as still being associated with the pain of the amputated limb. It's a large mental element at play. Forces become more prevalent. The body mod movement. And visions, though. Faulty installation on cybernetic eye mods, resulting in periodic electrical discharge across the retina. Concerning. Mod regrets. Arm shaped attached to me. Did they give you something to, well, wear in the meantime? Something the clinics lend out for cases like this? That thing they gave me is a dead weight. Three-jointed piece of shit. Sorry, it's a very shitty feeling having something so cheap take the place of your limb. You're part of your body that they cut corners on. It fits, it's compatible, technically. Plug it in and feel on balance again. Fingers don't even bend, and the quick twitch motor eyes are way off. Walking around with your arm asleep. Or dead. Nothing much better than just going without. Were you wearing it when you were arrested? No, I wasn't. Not even sure where it is right now, but police must have grabbed it as evidence. Right? Everything he's saying makes sense so far. He only had the victim's blood on his left arm because at the time in question, he didn't have a right. Wonder if the, unidentified ceramic piece they were going to disregard came from the, substitute arm. You and the victim were romantically involved. How long did you two know each other? I've known her since college. She had a few classes, friend circles. We got along real easy. Eventually we just got together at some point. Because I never actually asked her, formal-like. Pretty lame, huh? Diane, she was in genetics. Agriculture specifically. It'll be a while before he gets used to using the past tense. She'd just gotten done with her post-grad studies this year. Got hired right out of the gate. Practically headhunted. Believe that. Practically headhunted. Of course she was. Any company would be lucky to have her. Was a real-ass job. Paid real-ass money, too. Her career was starting to pan out. Why does his fell into a slump? Had she adjusted well to her new job? Did she ever mention arguments or disputes with coworkers or friends? No, nothing that would... No one I know could do this to her. There's nothing she could have done that would deserve what happened to her. It was a long shot, hoping for a disgruntled character from her past to shift blame onto. If they're suspects, I can't just reshuffle the detective's suspicions. I'll have to disprove their argument entirely. Thanks, Carlos. That was very helpful. It was? I'd like you to try and tell me whatever you can about what happened with Diane. Start at the beginning. Take your time. Details are important. All right, Miss Morgan. I'll try. When you're ready. We're arguing. We've been arguing a lot, mate. Arguing about stupid stuff. Haven't making money, haven't been providing. Pulling my weight. Just mad at myself and jealous of her. Jealous of her promotions and shit. Jealous of her goddamn money. They say you were arguing around 8 p.m. 8? Yeah, it must have been when we started. Got into it and I said a lot of things that I shouldn't have. Said one thing that I really shouldn't have. I had crossed the line, so I left. You left. Walked out the front door. Some fresh air might help me clear my head. figure out what to say to up to her. Of course, the air wasn't fresh, just humid, thick like mud. It was pissing away the time. Diane was... Did you bring your phone with you? Or any other device? I'm pretty sure that I didn't. I just walked around the block. Wasn't really paying attention, you know? The optics down, traffic and street level cams won't help him. That leaves. Did you go through a checkpoint or talk to anyone with modded eyes? Did you buy anything? Cash or credit? No way. Not even a vending machine. Even a damn vending machine, huh? Get what I said about the rain earlier. This guy's as unlucky as they come. Just wanted quiet at the time. Wanted to wallow in it. Sorry if I don't have all the details quite right. My head is... You to be sure, the cams probably caught my exact route, so... What? What is it? Carlos? You don't show up on a single cam at the time of the murder. What? How the hell? No, see, I was at the street, so it's a span of time when optics was down last night. Apparently, from 8:17 to 9:21. In other words, there's no proof that you were out at the time Diane was killed. That's impossible. You have to believe me. I didn't do this. I couldn't. Carlos, I'm the one person you don't have to try and convince. After all, I'm your lawyer. Just keep going and see what we've got to work with. Right. You said you left to clear your head. So what made you come back? 'Cause I heard a noise. Loud noise. I know what it was. But it was loud. It scared me. It came from the direction of our apartment. You two live on the first floor, is that right? Yeah, first floor. Street-facing entrance. We were proud of that when we first moved in. Like it was some kind of big deal. I was walking back at first. At some point, I must have started running because when I got back, I was so out of breath. I saw that. The front door was open. Something just dropped in my chest and my lungs wouldn't. I came in and I saw her on the ground in the hallway. I saw the blood, but I didn't realize what had happened. You didn't understand what you were seeing. Lights were off. The whole room was a mess. Thought we'd been robbed or she had fallen into her. There was glass on the floor. The furniture knocked aside. She was... I called her name and she didn't move. Checked her pulse and she was still warm. Blood was warm. I saw that gun. It looked heavy. I thought it had to be fake because I didn't want it to be real. Is that why you picked it up? What? Picked it up? Don't touch that thing. I didn't shoot her, damn it! After what I do, you hear a lot of lies. White lies, blatant lies, hasty lies. Bad lies especially. For me, it's always been easy to spot a lie. It can be hard to know what to do about it. It's nervous and defensive. Better handle this with a delicate touch. You did touch the gun, Carlos. That's just the fact that I know it because of... The obvious answer here would be the prints. You know, because your fingerprints are on the gun. What? Did I do this? I didn't. I wasn't thinking. I was just... All I'm saying is that you picked it up. That's all. Would you believe if I said I didn't realize it was a gun? Explains how his fingerprints got on the murder weapon. But not in a way that would satisfy the police. Still, if all Carlos did was hold the gun. So stupid. I know what a gun looks like. Laying there in my own home. Right in front of... You were in shock, Carlos. You still are. Police came in. Some time after that. I don't remember much of what they said. Things started moving fast, it seemed like. First my night went, as you can imagine. Carlos, you admit to having a verbal argument with Diane, but you said you were surprised to see the room trashed when you got back. Clarify. You're saying that you two never had any physical fight. What? Physical? Never fought. Never fought like that. Did the police say that we did? They assumed as much. Which means they also assumed the room was disheveled well before the shooting occurred. Considering what Carlos has told me, what else did they assume? What is it? What is it? Take a look at this diagram for me. Roughly describe the state of the room as the police found it. Right. Just that. Just a diagram extrapolated from data, Carlos. No gritty details for you to relive. Okay. You see it. Think back to how it looked when you left. Try and focus on what's out of place. I don't remember exactly where everything was. I mean, that clock in the corner was on the wall, obviously. The chair must have been knocked over. Mirror got smashed at some point. Bed cushions are all... Sorry, did that help? It was great, Carlos. What's the matter? Now I need to ask you about the letter that was found on your desk. Letter? What are you talking about? Saying that this is in your handwriting. This isn't... it's just what I wrote to myself. Pardon? Look, when we fight, I lose my temper. I say things I don't mean to. Yesterday morning, I tried writing things down to give myself a script to stick to. Tell me to apologize to her instead of just fighting with her. You say here that you hurt them. Metaphorically. I broke her fidget tubbies. Her what? Her what? Her fidget tubbies. These collectible ceramic character things. Supposed to be like tactile or some shit, like a paperweight or a conversation starter. A conversation starter? She loves those little things. They're not worth a damn. You can buy them at any flea market or garage sale, but they meant a lot to her. And I broke them. Goddamn piece of shit replacement arm. You know where I'm swinging it half the time. Okay. Because he broke her frigid duckies with his replacement arm. Does that change anything? Not immediately. There's not enough detail in the note for me to prove what his intent was when he sat down to write it. Although by the same stroke, the police can't prove that the letter was meant to be his confession for the Heartbreak killings. When I lose control, when I lose when I lose control being of his replacement prosthetic arm. All right, Carlos. Thanks for answering my questions. Now I'm going to call the police back in here, and I'm going to get this cleared up for you. What? That's it? That's it? Okay. Although before that, I do have to ask. What do you know about the Heartbreak killer? HK? That shooter who was trending for a while? I mean, as much as anyone, I guess. I think everyone's on edge, a guy like that out there. Shoots people through the heart, right? Police insisted on keeping the victims' names and appearances away from major media sources. Unless he was already digging into the murders, Carlos wouldn't know about their resemblance to his girlfriend. Wait, you don't think that Diane was... she was shot in the chest, but that's just not possible. If he's this slow in the uptake, it's going to be a real shock if those officers walk in here and accuse him of being a serial killer. I'll just have to squash that theory as quickly as possible. Showdown time. Thank you for all your assistance this morning, detectives. Yeah, sure. Always happy to be of service. Is he ready to confess? He's already woke up the DA. Already? She must be new. The district attorneys have final say on whether or not a case is brought to the trial. Fitting since they're the ones who end up having to actually prove the damn thing. Most of them prefer simple guilty pleas over long, protracted trials. And they all dislike having their time wasted. Unfortunately, then you'll have to call them back, because my client is not guilty. And frankly, I'm not even sure you have enough to hold him here. Really? The initial reaction was, you said you were here to help me. You turned on me? You were working with them? But now this is on a surprise. Got a weird sense of humor, Counselor. It's about 13 hours too early in the day for me to appreciate it. I'm very serious when it comes to defending a man's innocence, Detective. Counselor, we have your client's written confession. Hey, that was... Carlos, just let me do the talking. What you so ambitiously referred to as a confession is, in fact, just a simple apology to his girlfriend. For what, killing her? For an unrelated matter. That's not going to cut it. I think that confession's missing is his signature. So if you want to claim our key evidence was just some kind of apology, you need to tell us exactly what it's an apology for. You need to show us some real proof. Proof? It's all in the files they gave me. Goes to show just how excited they were to get their hands on Heartbreak. Missing details that are right under their noses. I'm not in the habit of making unfounded claims, detectives. If you want evidence, you just need to take a look at. Wish there was a way to review the evidence in question here. Diagram, obviously. Allow me to show you. Your diagram of the room. This is straight from the aux file, right? Oh, there's the missing piece. Augmented reality crime scene. Data harvested by sensors worn on first responders were used to reconstruct a digital copy of the crime scene. Early 2060s, technology became under heavy scrutiny, and the UMC with a series of reports claiming that ARC's data was regularly edited by corrupt officials to erase state secrets. These reports later found to be fake, and UMC was exposed as the subsidiary of a cell corporation within Lambda Work Solutions. What a nightmare. Investigative journalism as a subsidiary of a competitor in the field. Board members at Lambda denounced the actions of the said cell, offered assistance to their former competitors in suing leadership at UMC. Proceedings remain sealed. Pure, non-GMO, augmented reality crime scene data, yeah? What's non-GMO? Not much these days. Notice anything out of place with your diagram? Sure, there's plenty of busted shit lying around all over the place. Scene of a murder. Plenty of busted shit, for sure. I was referring to the unidentified ceramic debris found on the western side of the room. The hell's that? Isn't it just from the vase that got thrown? Actually, that's not possible. Oh? It's not possible because that vase... wasn't damaged. It's not possible that debris would have come from the vase, because that vase isn't even scratched. Seriously? But the lady at the garage sale told me it was so old and delicate. Damn it. The one time I tried the thrift shop without Diane. So what? What does it even matter? The vase is pristine. What the hell is that debris, you might ask? That debris is what my client had to apologize for. After all, it's all that remained of the victim's collection of... fidget-tackle. Fidget tubbies. Fidget tubbies. Mr. Flat broke these ceramic figures. Not during any struggle or argument with the victim, but by accident, in the morning. Bullshit. Counselor, even if they're a bit out of the way, you'd have no proof that those weren't knocked over during the murder. I may not have the proof, but I believe you do. Pardon? You took in his replacement arm as evidence, didn't you? Out of an abundance of precaution. Yeah, I think I saw it get bagged. What's it matter? My client smashed those fidget toddlers. Fidget tubbies. With the same prosthetic arm you took into custody. So your highly qualified crime scene techs would have found plenty of ceramic residue on that arm. I'm guessing that they even flagged it as notable for your convenience. Maybe so. More than maybe, I think. And since any of the arresting officers can attest that Carlos wasn't wearing a prosthetic arm when he was found, we can all come to the same reasonable conclusion that he broke those fudgery that he broke said items earlier in the day. Was she waiting for him to cut in? When he would have had enough time to sit down and write an apology about it. Oh, you've got to be joking. Look at how scrawled, how panicked the writing on the note is. You're trying to say he got that upset over a fidget tubby collection that hasn't even been graded? Putting aside Detective Reyes' surprising depth of knowledge about tacky collectibles. Oh, she knows. Oh, how big's your collection, girl? There's a good explanation for that, too. Hmm? And what's that, counselor? It's only natural that his penmanship looks that way it does. Because he loves fidget. I'm making a save here because... How am I thinking? Let's describe those things not worth a damn. Okay, he's right-handed. Because Carlos is right-handed. It must have been the same for you and your eye. Consults typically recommend replacing the dominant one. So he wrote that note with his left hand. I tend to think better writing than typing. I to get used to it, using my left anyways. Fine. So he's not feeling guilty enough to write a confession. Congratulations, you established that your client's remorseless. Still have his fingerprints on the murder weapon and her blood on his jacket and hand. That's... My client freely admits to holding the gun. Picked it up in confusion when he found the body. Which was not smart. But it wasn't illegal either. Oh, please, he had her blood all over his clothes. Yes, he did. Do you have those clothes on hand, by the way? The lab finished with them a while ago. What are you getting at? It'll be easier to just show you. Would you mind getting them for me? You know what? Sure, I'd be happy to. I just love to see this. What are you doing? Relax, Carlos. Pretty sure that's almost impossible. You're innocent. That means having more evidence will always help you, not hurt you. Really? Really? Not really. Prison's full of innocent people. But with bad luck or bad lawyers. Better or for worse, you can't always count on the truth to come out easy. More often than not, it takes coaxing. Here. One blood-stained jacket, fresh from the lab. What's your angle? Gonna say it's not his? Is he actually a size XXS or something? Are you? I'm not. He's identified it as his jacket. But don't you notice something odd, detectives? Only on the arm. Noticed your love of rhetorical questions. Get to the point. Murder weapon is an old-world revolver. Needs no tags, no magnetic slugs, no lethal task projectiles. Tool-assisted speedrun projectiles. Gunpowder. Carlos really had shot the victim with a gun like that. Be evidence indicating that on the jacket while he was wearing at the time. Prove it. I'll have to call the detective's attention to what they can see, feel, smell. It has to be see. We can see clear as day. Smell, burn. My point is very simple. I only ask you for one thing. Smell this. Huh? No, really. Go ahead. tell me what you smell. I smell bullshit. Drying blood. Correct. And you don't smell anything else. Right, that's... London's an old dog. He knows. Hey, the hell is she on about? It's nothing that complicated. It's just that you don't smell any gunpowder. Hmm? Gunpowder? What do you mean? Don't blame yourself for not noticing. This was before your time. You can't be more than a few years older than me. But not before your partners, it seems. Gunpowder's weak by modern standards, but it's still volatile stuff. Hard to store, prone to misfiring. When it goes bang, it leaves behind an awful lot of evidence. What the hell's she talking about, London? Modern firearms like ours use EM bursts, magnetism, even air pressure or sound waves. Got more accuracy, more firepower, less recoil, less noise. They don't leave behind any residue. You thought this HK was clever because his gun didn't leave any digital traces behind. But a revolver like this would leave gunpowder on the clothes and skin of whoever fired it for days. If you don't trust your noses, you can check the lab reports. I think if they had found any gunpowder on my client or his clothes, they'd have taken the time to highlight it. So what? Just means he washed off after shooting her, or that he changed clothes. That's not impossible, but it would be pretty pointless. Ah? His jacket and his left hand were bloody when your peers found him. Would he really go through all that effort to get rid of something as subtle as gunpowder residue? Just to get the victim's blood all over himself afterwards? They're faltering now. The letter wasn't of much consequence, but the gun is all they really had to name Carlos as the Heartbreak killer. Looks like he never actually fired the gun. In light of these details, I'd like to ask that you reconsider the charges Mr. Flat is facing. As soon as possible. Whoa. Message? Wait, did they seriously? You're good at your job. You even had me going there. For a second. Uh-oh. Where's this coming from? Unfortunately for him, though, the net scrubbing effort just paid off. Because they just found an image of the shooter at the very moment they pulled the trigger. Sending it over right now. Photo? Of the shooter? Thought that there was an optics blackout. Seems like this. This isn't from optics. You mean that's some random person? Looks like at the time of the shooting, a neighbor was on their phone. Probably venting about how crazy the couple across the way was acting. If their phone was on, its camera was on. And they had their window blinds open. All it takes is one single camera to catch a criminal in the act. Could be from a car, computer, a phone, an ad, or even a modded eye. It doesn't even necessarily have to be powered on. The cops must have pinged thousands of devices in the surrounding area, digging for footage. And now, here it is. And would you look at that? A shooter with no right arm. Merry Christmas, Mr. Edgeworth. Well, okay. Quality is lacking. And yet there it is. Managed to find a quarter needle of evidence in a whole city block full of haystacks. What are the goddamn chances? No, the scale their tools operate on. Guess the chances are in their favor. Alright, this isn't good, but it's a far cry from the worst case scenario I envisioned. It really is my lucky day. You can't see the shooter's face or even make out their clothes. Ultra-low resolution, zoomed in, blurred, color shifted, and so compressed it looks like it's from another century. The clock is on the wall, though. There are tools that could enhance this image any more, and you could count the pixels on two hands. You can't honestly claim that you can identify my client from this image. And there's no way you could convince the court. Yeah, you're probably right. We couldn't. But I think I know a DA that could. Either way, it doesn't seem like your client's leaving this police station anytime soon. That photo. Just what the hell is happening? Think I know a DA that could. Don't be so modest, old man. We have photo evidence of a left-handed shooter standing in the hallway at the same time the whole neighborhood heard a gunshot. And who do we know that had their left-hand fingerprints all over that M54? You're referring to my client, you think? We've established he wasn't wearing his modded armor at all tonight, so of course he must have shot with his left. We've also established that his left hand is shaky, and he still has no gunpowder. Forensics will not be perfect, counselor. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes you take a walk through the rain and finally get where you're going. You somehow end up dry. That doesn't mean it didn't rain. I don't like that look on your face. All of which is to say, before judge or jury, photographic evidence outweighs a failed sniff test. Carlos is innocent. I know he is. That means that this photo doesn't show what it appears to show. So then, a loss for words? Never. I'm just confused about one thing. Where was this photo taken from, exactly? Exactly? Positional data is usually only accurate to the nearest public router. If we de-anon the phone's owner and ask them where, why bother with all that? Ballistics and common sense tells us that the perp shot from the doorway. If the clock over there and straight at the shooter, so it's pretty obvious that this was taken from across the north window. Neighbor must live on the other side of the street. Is that right? What's this photo taken from the north? I mean, gee, actually, I think you're mistaken. Well, then please enlighten us, counselor. The idea that this was taken from the north doesn't line up with what we see in your photo. Your prized photo evidence is self-contradictory. How's that exactly? Just take one good look at. Shooter, gun, background. There's a clock on the wall in this photo, analog style. It reads 9 o'clock. 9 p.m., the time of the shooting. Hell's contradictory about that. Nothing odd about the time the clock reads, but do you remember there being a clock in the room? What? Actually, I don't recall there being a clock. That makes sense. Wouldn't recall seeing a clock. So when the police secured the scene, the clock had already been knocked onto the floor. Off of the eastern wall. Hold on a minute. There may have been a clock on the ground somewhere, sure. This photo was taken immediately before a gunshot was heard. Scrubbers even found time-stamped audio to corroborate. The struggle between the killer and the victim should have already taken place. And the clock should have already been knocked off the wall. Seems that way, doesn't it? The hell are you saying now? Position to finish this, but I won't be able to end things without mentioning the other murders. Looks like I can't avoid dropping HK's name in front of Flat any longer. Oh well, bandit dripping time. Tell me, detectives, were there any signs of a struggle at the other crime scenes? Other crime scenes? Carlos, please, just trust me. No, nothing like that. Those attacks would have been over in a matter of seconds. So what did you think when you saw the mess of a crime scene in Diane's apartment? Now this was personal, and things had gotten complicated. Shit happens. Shit does happen, detective. But in this case, it seems there's been a general misconception about the order in which the shit happened. Huh? Fortunately, we can clear all this up just by paying close attention to your crime scene diagram. There is in fact one particular detail that tells us the order of events quite plainly. One particular detail that shows exactly how the cards fell. Glass fragments, we haven't touched those yet. In the ARC's file, there are flagged pieces of broken glass near the body. Sure? We can all reason that the glass was shattered when the rest of the room was ransacked. Oh, what's the big deal? The big deal is that the arcs shows the glass on top of the victim's body, not under it. In other words, the glass was broken after she had already fallen to the ground dead, which means the room must have been trashed after the shooting, and not during a prior struggle, and so the clock still would have been on the east wall when the crime occurred. Why would the killer trash the room after he shot Diane? A good question, to make it appear personal, and one that the detectives would have to find the answer to after they release you. What are you talking about? It's odd that the room was trashed after the murder, but so what? We still have a photo, and I'm glad you do. You're glad? Proving that it wasn't my client who pulled the trigger is difficult, and maybe more importantly for all of us, time-consuming. Thanks to your photo, I can instead prove that it couldn't have been my client who pulled the trigger, because the man in that photo can't possibly be Carlos. And what do you mean by that, counselor? Here comes the coup de grace. I'll take care not to wound their pride too badly. And if doing what I do makes hostility a given, I'd still prefer not to have any cops walking around actively hating my guts. We can't get a good view of his arm, but Carlos claimed that the clock we see in this photo was hung on the eastern wall. This photo must have been taken from across the alley, not the street. That means we're seeing this view through the western window. But we're seeing a photo taken through the western window, we have to ask. What exactly are we looking at? Seriously? Look at a left-handed shooter in a bright hallway. There's only one hallway in that apartment, Detective Reyes. It runs from north to south. So now you're going back to the northern window? Now you're going back to the northern window? It's just bullshit. There's just one last bit of evidence that you failed to take into consideration. We're thinking about this crime based on how the room looked afterwards. We've just now established that the room was pristine when the shooting occurred. That means that what we're seeing in this photo isn't the shooter. What we're seeing in this photo is... east wall... reflection. It's the shooter's reflection. His reflection? Bits of glass that ended up on top of Diane's body. They were from a standing mirror. Mirror that at the time of the shooting stood across the room from the western window. Then, that would mean that angle, from that viewpoint, it would reflect the hallway. So we're not seeing a shooter with a gun in their left hand. We're seeing a killer take aim with their right arm. And as we all know, my client hasn't had a working right arm in a number of weeks. Fingers on his replacement don't even have joints. So, I mean what I say about your photo. I'm glad that it was recovered. Smooth girl. Because it just proved that my client couldn't possibly have committed this crime. He could have had a backup. Could have stolen another prosthetic. Stubborn, this one. So stubbornness can be charming, but this kind of desperation is ugly. It's getting late. Time to put my foot down. A bit. A bare bones prosthetic off the black market needs to be attuned to an individual's nervous system. To bring it into a clinic, which would have left a record on his shoulder OS. A record you won't find. He'd still have to somehow have gotten rid of it before the police arrived. This would be at the scene of a violent crime. Calls for a full spectrum scanning of the entire building and 100 meters around it, minimum. So where did he manage to hide an entire cybernetic arm from your drones in the time between the shooting and his arrest? Show me your hand, Flat. Here, uncover me? Not at the evidence, we have no reason to hold you. Shit. Now I gotta call the DA and... they're gonna be pissed. Listen, kid, you. Never mind. Lost my train of thought. Your attorney's a real tiger, and she just fought like hell for you. Make sure you thank her properly. Yeah. That's kind of you to say, Detective. Sure. Just don't start expecting that kindness from the rest of my peers, Counselor. What happens now? I'll have to speak with the DA about the dismissal. And there's still some paperwork we need to deal with, but basically, you're free to go. What am I supposed to do? He can't work, and his wife's dead. Investigations will continue. Authorities may contact you for further interviews, or they may not. When they're satisfied with their examination of the body, she'll be handed over to their next of kin, and you can make your preparations for her funeral. No, I meant, dying being gone is one thing. But a serial killer? It's like dying of the flu. It doesn't happen anymore. Die of the flu all the time, but I know what you mean. I can't make sense of it. So what am I supposed to do? Hell if I know. There are some phone numbers I could give you. Services professionals, doctors. Oh, you've done more than enough for me. When you got here, I was too tired to even defend myself. Trying to convince them that I didn't. You saved me. Oh, thank you. You're welcome, Carlos. It's my job to... No, thank you for not asking. For not asking if I killed her. I didn't need to ask, Carlos. I knew you were innocent from the start. Oh. Of course he was. After all. Ah! The blood's always a little different. Heart's always in the same place, easy to find. The blood's always a little different. It stains the chest like a flower, unfurling its petals towards some unknown sun. A perfectly unique bloom, only one for each of us. Rorschach test with singular, universal meaning, vitality at its climax, bursting forth into a red fractal consisting solely of an infinite, the end. But the comical thud of a body hitting the floor has its own kind of lowbrow appeal. That was bullet number 6 of 6. The gun's empty. It's useless to me now. May as well leave it. It's like a waste, but whatever. Finding the ammo for one of these is almost enough of a hassle to outweigh the advantages. I could sell an untagged gun for a fair bit of cash, but even cash leaves a trail. More headaches to deal with. Though there was something to her black eyes, as opposed to her normal red. She didn't say anything when I entered. Moping around in the dark in here, she must have only been able to see my silhouette. Did she think I was her boyfriend, back for an encore of that enthralling conversation? Can't ask her now. Right. Yeah, did you hear that? These old pieces are so goddamn loud. People aren't even familiar enough with the sound anymore to know where to run the other way. I'll be roused half the neighborhood. But I didn't see anything I could use as even a partial suppressor on the way in. They really not afford some throw pillows. Use the other 5 bullets in outdoor spaces and small spheres of blind opportunity that the city's eyes couldn't think to pierce. Crowded places, usually full of trash. This room, as cheap as it looks, is clean. It's at least clean, organized even. The corpse adds a certain satisfying contrast. Except shit on the floor. By the western window, broken pieces of something fragile and tacky. It's fine. Just one thing out of place. Actually, it's not fine. It's actually really irritating. I kick over the stupid goddamn mirror. 5 perfect crime scenes, each of them, not a speck of evidence, nothing to go on. The final shot, there's gotta be some goddamn pile of crap in the corner ruining everything. Kick the wall. Something falls from it. There'll be more taste of this bullshit. Toss over the chair, knock the urn. Tear into the sheets with my frustration and try to save the shredding. Can't be clean. I'll just have to bleed into the messy angle. At least it will be consistent. This was all so stupid. The bragging type, but even I felt satisfied when the first 3 went down with single shots. After that, I did start to actively aim for the heart, but... Heartbreak Killer? Really? No, that was something else. That was someone else's name. They came up with it. Spread it. They marketed it. Besides, Heartbreak is a reclusive, socially impotent loser who shot 6 people because... Well, I'm sure the press will come up with something. But he got rejected one too many times or whatever. Me, I killed those people because I saw them and I wanted to. But I've killed a lot more than just 6. At least, the room is suitably tossed now. It took me a few moments, but if I had just walked away after seeing that mess by the window, it would have irritated me to no end. Good riddance, Heartbreak. You were far more trouble than you were worth. Enjoy your 15 minutes. I'm going home. Here's Waity tonight. Thick. Energized. A heavily foreshadowed summer rain I can feel on every hair. They call this kind of humidity oppressive, but I disagree. A warm tension on your skin, like in those short moments just after the shower turns off, when the steam lingers. Yeah, it's always most comfortable right afterwards. Maybe there's no disagreement to be had. Oppressive things can be comforting, too. Sirens. Only the guilty ones run. I don't know about that. I know I never felt guilty about any of this. And me, I walk. Huh? Sorry, using my left is still. That's okay. You can just initial in those spots. Took a scenic route home and got in a bit after 11. Had myself a thorough shower, drank some water, did some stretching. Made sure my phone was on. Time went by evenly. Around 1:40 a.m., a posting for public defender work came up. A decent rate, as it was so late and so urgent. I had wagered correctly that the boyfriend would have enough sense to ask for a lawyer, and enough debt that he'd need to be provided one. All I had to do was stay awake. There wasn't much competition after 1 in the morning. Okay, where else? Here, and here. It would have been easy to convince Carlos to plead out, or just screw up his defense so badly he ended up going down for the Heartbreak killings anyway. The easy is dangerous. Carlos was, of course, innocent, so his conviction would never be airtight. There would be doubts, questions, appeals. Maybe even fans, depending on his looks. More attention on HK and his crimes. More headaches. A cold case rotting in the very far back of the public's awareness is always preferable to the one open and shut in haste. Now, with no more murders matching HK's MO, there won't be any additional public pressure to find a culprit. Now Heartbreak can just starve to death, out of sight and mind like any other fluke in the system. Almost done. Getting involved with this case intimately had its risks. It was worth it for the peace of mind, the finality. Seeing the authorities failing from the best seat in the house was just a bonus. Thanks again, Morgan, for everything. I'm sure Diane is grateful, too. I have no doubt. Funny. I didn't even know her name. No more victims to be found, no more suspects to pursue, no more loose ends of any importance. Stuff now is for me to deal with. Noted Counselor Morgan. Ooh. Ah! Her. District Attorney Rockford. That's a delightfully unhinged entrance. Sorry, can I try that again? I'm so goddamn fried. Of course. Oh my god. I love her already. Counselor Morgan, morning, noon, or night, you're always so put together. Like you've always gotten 11 hours of sleep the night before. The time for naps. God, I must have bounced under my eyes dark enough for dumpster diving. Emma Rockford. She's a district attorney, a prosecutor who works for the city. Despite her sometimes unkempt appearance, she's probably the sharpest person to fill the position in decades. We've been in each other's respective orbit for a few months now. That time we've negotiated, debated, and argued against each other in court. She has the remarkable ability to compartmentalize all that adversarial energy and only bring it out in the courtroom. It's part of what makes her good at her job. And hard for me to read. What have they got you doing at this hour, then? Actually, I'm here for you. Me? Your client was a suspect in the Heartbreak killings. That's my case. Well, then you must have been relieved, finding out that you won't have to go to trial against me. No? Why would I be worried about going up against you? It's always the unintended barbs with her. So you're working with those detectives. Yeah, London and the, new girl, Reyes. And reporting directly to me in preparation for trial. Preparation for trial? That seems ambiguous. I guess they gave you the rundown. Yeah, okay. It's been rough going. It's hard to get to kill her who leaves behind so little. It's hard to kill while leaving so little for you to find. So Reyes told you they had HK in custody and you popped out of bed all excited to run down here. Hardly. I haven't been asleep in over 30 hours. Girl! Too much on my mind. Oh, so when I heard about a case with a single female victim at the heart, my ears perked up. Then I glanced at the report. Carlos Flat is no serial killer, and he's definitely not HK. Which means it. No middle name. No gunpowder residue on him. Too remorseful, too apologetic in that note. Whatever it was about. His dominant arm modded. Documented sensitivity issues. Never could have made shots that clean, without getting close enough to leave scorch marks. On top of that, too tough for the ballistics and triangles, too heavy to not leave imprints. Got all that from a glance? And of course, I'm sure a competent lawyer like yourself pointed all that out the moment you walked in here. Of course. The worst part is she's not even being sarcastic. Yeah, of course it couldn't have been him. Long-term relationship, no trouble holding jobs in the past. Physically imposing, argumentative, so not the type to bottle things up. He didn't match the profile. Profile? Right, sorry, you've probably never heard of it. You know what a goddamn profile is? A profile is a reconstruction of criminal psychology based on evidence from their crimes. Sponsor search results? Oh no. Trying to get your dating profile just right can be a full-time job. Let Valentine take the reign with our automated, secure, and confidential tools that put your better than best foot forward and put the sexy back into finding the right match. Not interested in sponsor search results? See further with the premium account. Oh my god. Fallen out of fashion over the past few decades, you can imagine. I've had to find some, fossils and oddballs to give advice on how to go about it. It's some kind of investigative tool. The theory is that a crime can tell you something about the nature of the person who committed it. Stabbing, overkill, points of age, lust, probably knew their victim. Poison and guns, meanwhile, suggest they can't physically overpower others. Then there's things they can assume about nearly all serial offenders. Childhood trauma, prior criminal record, few or no meaningful attachments. There's a lot of recurring themes in their stories. And what sort of story are you spitting for HK? It's not a happy one. HK is diligent, almost perfect. That absence of evidence actually tells us a lot about our killer. If it's hard to say what he is like, exactly, it's easy to tell that he isn't like Carlos Flat. How so? Getting away with murder like this takes more than just planning. HK must be highly intelligent, painstakingly organized, and affluent or connected enough to get their hands on an untagged firearm. Probably a lone wolf, educated. They feel overqualified or undervalued, and considering their marksmanship. Detectives did mention that HK would need insider information on optics. But does that mean Heartbreak's in law enforcement? Heartbreak is a misnomer, and law enforcement. Frankly, I doubt it. Oh. It's too visible an occupation to know an application process. They could charm their way in, though. any given conversation, but they can't fool everyone all the time, right? Be difficult lying to cops all the time. Be a secondary or tertiary relation to the police. Cannot but insert themselves. The hell's that phrasing? Wait, but if they're not a cop, how did they know about the blackout timing? Crime meta statistics analysis. Probably. Pardon? Take the police responsible times. Take the police response times from across the city and map them out. Look for brief spikes and delays, chart out the dips, and... sorry, technical, I know. All the requisite data is publicly available. Such a clear contrast in the sprites we've seen, from her deathly tired to her deathly serious. And who could do it if they wanted to? Really gives off like those one or two sprites where she gets deadly serious. That's such an unpleasant thought. The artistic storytelling here. Whoever they are, they're not vain, unfortunately. Serious face, if you could resist the chance to gloat to the police or the media about getting away with murder 6 times in a row. Yeah, a whole 6 times. Mind-blowing. You won't find them standing out in a crowd. They're a blank slate, chameleon. Superficially charming, with no substance to back it up. Terminal mask swapper. It's rare to see her this animated outside the courtroom. It's like she's enjoying herself. Their crimes have no sadism, but there's no remorse either. Bodies were just left there on the ground, like they weren't even worth anything anymore. Your words, not mine. All of which is to say they're not easy to categorize, and they're no traditional psychopath. Psychopath, really? What year is this? A person with a low social empathy inventory score, if you prefer. Hey, if you want to diagnose your killer with hysteria while you're at it, go right ahead. Maybe I will. Oh. Parts of this are based in some pretty old-fashioned thinking, and I'm sure can sound like I'm just guessing. The one thing I do know is that these aren't his only kills. Were there other shootings with the same MO? Other victims that look similar? No, not that I found. It's just... No one can kill like that when it's their first time. Getting things that perfect takes practice. And I'm afraid that this person has had a lot of practice, Morgan. That's why I said Heartbreak is a misnomer. You've got something catchier in mind. Truth is, I think shooting them in the heart is just a testament to their accuracy and their efficiency. Best possible use of 6 untagged bullets. Their real signature isn't the bullets or the gun, it's the perfection. That's hard to wrap your head around. I'm saying that these 6 murders were just fluke, slip-up, a whim, a mistake. Exactly, a mistake. They got too clean, too efficient, and now they've got the public's attention. Must be the worst kind of mistake for someone with no ego to speak of. I like that expression of hers. No ego. How zen. Yeah, they must be a real Buddha. Or a real devil. Oof. Okay, that rant was pretty morbid and detailed. I need to get out more. I'm always happy to listen to you ramble about something or other. It's a lot more pleasant than having to face you in the courtroom. Sorry, but that's the adversarial process. So no hard feelings, yeah? No hard feelings. We're both just doing what we do. I'd use a cup of coffee. How about you? Don't tempt me. You can fall asleep face first at the table and I won't even take a picture. Okay. Just don't expect this to make a difference next time we're at each other's throats. Oh. HK won't claim any more victims. Before the week's through, the media will have moved on to the next sensation, and the police will have moved on to cases they actually stand a chance of closing. That's what people do. But Emma is different. She'll set it aside and work a dozen other cases, never bringing it up again. But a private corner of that frustratingly sharp mind of hers will continue to whittle away at it. Never finishing, never quitting either. So I can't afford to take my eyes off of her. As long as that's the case, I may as well try to enjoy the view. You're gonna be living with my friend for a while. Oh, hello. Android. For how long? Sorry, I don't know. Oh, they're cute. Don't need to look that upset over it. My face barely moved. May as well have been a blatant pout to me. This friend of yours, they're trustworthy? Absolutely. In fact, I trust them more than anyone. Hey, come on, it'll be fun. Really? Really, educational too. Think you could stand to learn a lot from someone like Morgan? Oh, to be continued in Chapter 1, An Idle Mind. I really enjoyed this. I'm really looking forward to this. I see why the protagonist section was written the way that it was, playing as Evangeline Morgan and the Heartbreak Killer. We certainly are playing as both. We certainly are playing with both. Of the devil. To escape, then click the power icon to return to main menu. Oh, fair enough. Ah! And now we get menu options. Check out the link. Check out the links in the description to follow this one. What an interesting cast of characters in here. What I've seen from the trailers and gameplay of later, further chapters, there's more gameplay elements introduced here beyond just the normal investigation and dialogue systems here. It'd be really interesting to see. I'm really enjoying the premise here. Really enjoying the premise here. The that little twist. That small little twist there. That jarring turn from pleasantly getting flat off for the murder. And then the immediate turn to her in the doorway there. That alone, like, up to that point, the premise alone, the setting, Morgan as a main character, our detective characters, as a prologue to some long-term story going on here. That alone would have had me. That alone would have had me hooked already. But that twist to the narrative, which is going to shape things going forward, just the hard smash cut from Flat and Morgan smiling, warm, pleasant moment, straight to Morgan in the doorway with the gun. That was powerful. That's got the hooks at me now. I'm really excited to see how this goes. What an intriguing character, even before now, her composure. You could probably see that coming. I know I pointed out the change in her eye color and some between her internal thoughts and her outward dialogue at points there. So I'm pleasantly I'm delighted that that proved to be more significant than just a little character design quirk. It would have been a unique character design quirk on its own, but I'm wonderfully delighted that it proved to be quite significant. What an intriguing turn! What an intriguing turn of events. We are indeed playing as Evangeline Morgan, and the Heartbreak killer. I'm really excited to see where this goes, especially for the interactions with. We've now met the DA, Eva, who is an amazing. Love her already. Love her already. What a wonderfully intriguing prosecutor. She's very tired, but like I said when we were talking to her just a little bit ago, even in her sprites, variation in her sprites really is just has those moments where just how truly sharp and good at her job she is comes through. Just in her sprites alone, that's really cool, really impressive. So, here's looking at you, Eva. So we have more serialized insular chapters to come with the overarching narrative. I'm also just realizing that they have a heavily spoilered. They have a scene from on the itch.io page. If you've watched the end of this video and you've seen the spoiler of what happens in that room, they have a screenshot of that scene on their itch.io page with a placeholder sprite to hide the obvious spoiler. And that's a really neat touch as well. That is really cool. Alright. So. Yes, from what I've seen of following them on Twitter and following other trailers and stuff, I'm fairly certain there are, more proper gameplay mechanics coming in all of this. But even if it's just this, it's still really cool setting, really cool environment, really interesting mystery, and nice narrative thread established. Working through here. The one thing I saw is like a poker themed debate minigame to come up in later chapters. Like we see Morgan facing off against Reyes. And it's... Yes. So definitely stay tuned for that. This is one I will definitely be keeping in mind. We'll definitely be coming back to. And we will leave off with the prologue for now. Until next time, until then.